my wife's gonna kill me for this one. Our garage is broken right now. In fact, let me show you. Yeah, our garage is a mess. Sue me, I don't care what you think. Do you see that right there? You see where the tension spring is not connected anymore? It is so hot in California that our tension spring plasticized from the heat and it snapped. So our garage isn't open anymore. That's fun. Normally, when I am in the garage and I decide I'm going to do a video, I'll crack that thing open so there's an airflow and my cigarette smoke goes this way. It's too hot for me to do that, and I am just so genuinely and deeply in the mood to talk about another spaceship shooter, because I should have talked about it in the other one, but I'm going to talk about it here now. In point of fact, it is my favorite spaceship shooter of all time, Thunder Force 5. Thunder Force 5 Perfect System on PS1 by Working Designs was when I first played it, but I attest, as an extremely hardcore spaceship shooter lover, that Thunder Force 5 on the Sega Saturn is the definitive way to play that game. Now, when I first played Thunder Force 5, I was like, this game's pretty cool. It's also pretty tough, but it's not unfair. Nothing about it is unfair. Anytime I died, I always thought that was my bad. I am the reason I died. That was my fault. The game is really good about giving you a constant supply of power-ups. And one of the things I love about it, much like the Guardian Legend here, is that you have this balancing act that you have to decide how are you going to use your overweapons. The Thunder Force series is notorious for having multiple weapons at a time that you can cycle between. The big thing in spaceship shooters since day one has always been, even in R-type games, you picked up the red-colored weapon. You have the red weapon now. Did you pick up another red weapon while you have the red weapon? You have a stronger red weapon now. Did you pick up the yellow weapon? You've shifted into the yellow weapon. Pick up another yellow weapon if you want to level up your weapon. Once you've gotten to max level, picking up a different color weapon, you go between the different max levels of those associated different weapons. Thunder Force decided that's dumb. The player should be able to use any weapon they want whenever they want. You have your primary shot forward and your shot backwards. You always have those at your disposal. The Hunter, the very wide, constant screen ticking wave cannon, and the I don't know how to describe the free range weapon in Thunder Force 5 other than tactical orbital strike laser attached to your ship. Those, if you blow up and get hit, and your ship comes back on screen because it's not cruel and doesn't make you start over at a checkpoint because you got hit by one freaking bullet. In those cases, you're going to lose one of those strong weapons. You'll still have your little babies, front and back weapons all the time. Your strength comes from picking up, and I love that they're called this, craws. C-R-A-W. Craw. I don't remember what it stands for, but I've always just thought it's funny, and in my mind, I'm just always like, picking up the crayfish, baby. Yeah. And it's kind of like the options in Gradius, in a way. There are these little orbs. They'll orbit around your ship. And if a bullet happens to hit a craw, the craw will delete it and protect your ship. You can have up to 3 craws at a time. And they're real darn useful. They protect you, man. There is also a shield power-up that will actually protect your direct ship from hits, but there's not many of them in the game, and frankly, I've never relied on them, and for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours that I have played Thunder Force 5, it's a 30-minute long game. I don't remember where the shield power-ups are because they're so unimportant, you don't really need them. Your Craws will protect you. Unless you're a panicking baby and you spam your overweapon too much. And this is where your balancing act comes in with Thunder Force 5, and this is why I love the game so much. Your Craws are what you use to use overweapons with. Depending on which weapon you have currently active at the time, and it is possible if you know, I'm going to die, I don't want to lose my free range, just tap the main gun real quick to make that your main weapon, and then you blow up, you won't lose your special weapon. You can actually react if you know you're going to die, and you're about to get screwed. You can preserve your special weapons with reflexive timing. That's so cool. What spaceship shooter game lets you preserve your special weapon with reflexive timing if you know you're going to take that hit and blow up? I can't name another one, frankly. But no matter what your active weapon is, when you hit the overweapon button, which on PS1 was defaulted to the R1 button, and on Sega Saturn it's the R trigger button. But this is why I say it's so much better to play on Sega Saturn, because you have 6 face buttons. It just feels so much better when you have your active gun buttons all right here, and then you have one button for the overweapon button instead of having to use the shoulder weapon buttons for whether you want to do the gun cycling mode or this button is this gun mode. You can actually change that if that's your preference. But when you use a Craw to use an overweapon, it will slowly shrink in size and change color. And once it's a tiny little red dot, it means it's out of juice. And if a bullet hits it, you will lose that Craw. They do regenerate energy on their own over time. There's no refill the Craw power up, although if you have 3 Craws and you get another one, it will max out energy on one of them. So you have this constant game you're playing inside the game of, is this the good spot to use an overweapon, or are there going to be so many bullets after I use it that I might lose a Craw? Now, at a gameplay perspective, it's dope. It's fantastic. The music kicks your ass. I have no other way to explain that. And in point of fact, one of the best tracks from the game, the Battle of Top. Please, I might even link them both in this video description. I'm not sure. I probably should. The Battle of Top is just Metallica's Master of Puppets. It's just Master of Puppets, man. Listen to it. It's the same song. But, great music, great enemy wave patterns, awesome weapons. It's the whole package. But what has always sold me about Thunder Force 5 is the story and the plot. That's not something you hear with spaceship shooters very often. Even though I just talked about Philosoma, probably one of the only other spaceship shooter stories that's really worth remembering, the plot of Thunder Force extends back into Thunder Force 3, sort of. It really has its main point in Thunder Force 4, though. In Thunder Force 4, the main ship, the Rhynex, it did not make it back. It served its purpose, but a little bit toward the end of Thunder Force 4, your ship actually gets infected, and it turns into a living ship. And its weapons change, and the stuff that it can do changes, and it's a really weird and dramatic moment for a spaceship shooter. The Thunder Force 4 was on the Sega Genesis or the Mega Drive, depending on which region you're from. Sega's 16-bit console. And it was just this crazy moment when you first play in Thunder Force 4, and it's like, bro, my ship just evolved and got infected, and it's like crazy powerful now. Whoa, I'm like using the enemy's weapons and their technology against them now. this is tight, bro. This is savage. That ship is lost in space for a very, very long time. At the beginning of Thunder Force 5, the Rhinox is discovered. It is brought back to the Earth to be studied because it's like, bro, this metal is organic. It's alive. It has memories etched into it. It can think. It has opinions. What the hell is this thing? So they dismantle the core of the Rhinox's main computer chip, and that becomes what is called the Guardian's Heart. Skynet happens. I don't need to explain that to you. I really hope you've seen Terminator 2, or at least you've heard of it. The Guardian's Heart is the AI of the Rhinox. It is put into a tower on the Earth, and it controls the planet. It controls commerce, controls governments, it controls how many children you are allowed to have legally. It just controls everything. It is designed to preserve mankind. That is its number one AI kernel MO. I must preserve mankind. But then the Guardian starts to ask itself, why? What is the purpose of preserving mankind? They don't live for very long, and for the short amount of time they are here, it seems all they do is look for excuses to fight and hate each other. I don't think they're worth preserving. But I think this planet is worth preserving. This planet is beautiful. But these humans, they're the scourge. I have to get rid of them. And so that's where you come along in the plot of the story. RVR-01 gauntlets are deployed to take out the Guardian's, most powerful organic metal creatures. And one of my favorite parts of the game, when Steel of Destiny kicks in, and you start flying out of the atmosphere of the planet, and with literal laser-guided docking, while you're soaring at hundreds and hundreds of miles an hour, your ship begins to dock with just this massive, exo armament that it plugs into. Like, you ever seen one of those Gundams, right? And the Gundam is only like this big, and then like the weapon they're attached to is just this thing that's like 100 times bigger than them. Well, yeah, that's basically what happens when your ship lines up with this thing, and it like clicks into place with it, and then its wings detach and start exploding, and all that's left is the cockpit where you are, and it slides into place on your new ship with this massive rail cannon that is literally like 100 frickin' feet long, extending out of this rocket pack that you're equipped with, so you can finally break free of the Earth's gravitational pull. And now you're up in the orbit of the planet, and all the Judgment Sword ships are everywhere. They look like frickin' like a Star Destroyer flew through a frickin' Tesseract or something. They look frickin' crazy. And you're just blowing these things up with an unlimited ammo, godlike weapon. And during this stage, you have a life bar. It's the only part of the game where you have a life bar, because you are literally just crashing a rocket into other rocket ships while you're just pissing out a stream of nuclear energy. It's like a lightsaber this wide as a freaking football field, and just goes forever and just rips everything apart. But no matter what you do, that thing is going to explode and rip apart, and then you see what you're left with. It's not an RVR-01 gauntlet anymore. It's the RVR-02 Vambrace. This thing is mega upgraded and out the ass. It doesn't have a little pissy Vulcan cannon anymore. It has a blade cannon. It shoots gigantic throwing bladed ninja stars made of golden light energy billions of times a second in every direction feasible. Your little sissy little back Vulcan thing, yeah, it's not a little sissy back Vulcan anymore. It's like 15,000 different mega lasers that just shoot out thousands of times a second behind you in this infinite stream of chaos and hell. Oh man, every single weapon you have is superpowered now. Your ship is an unstoppable force of just perfect justice. It's the fist of God coming into the false sword of judgment to destroy the Guardian, where its heart is being kept now inside the final judgment sword orbiting the Earth, where no man can touch it, except you can. As you start flying through the AI-generated computer machinery land full of weird crystal things and just crazy-looking pixel art graphics that are blinking and flashing all over the place. And then you get to Guardian's core. It's a weird little thing that it decided that it should look like. Now that it has to take on physical form to defend itself, it takes on the shape of an embryo. And it starts pissing nuclear hot fury at you from every single direction. I've seen some of the best players in the world die to that thing trying to do, a no-death clear. It is not easy. But then you destroy it. Its little embryonic cage, its digital womb starts exploding and breaking apart. And then all that is left is the Guardian's heart, a single computer chip pulsing as it decides it has to run from you. It is now afraid of you. It is terrified of you. Because you basically just tried to commit infanticide. And you don't feel very good at that point, quite honestly, because it starts feeling really weird. And it decides that it has to defend itself. And as you both are rocketing up this crazy technological tower, it has a bunch of cool little Easter eggs in it, like, hey, Technosoft thanks you for playing the game. Hope you enjoyed Thunder Force. There's these little things that fly by so fast that you can't see it unless you record it and, freeze frame it. Seriously, I know like almost every single thing about this game. I love it to death. And then you're just shooting at this bizarre thing that is just screaming and howling at you in both anger and fear. Every time you just start wrecking it and blowing chunks of it off, it just starts gathering more and more pieces of the ship around itself that is being destroyed, and then rebirths itself into a stronger form over and over until it reaches its final stage of evolution. And it has this just ungodly massive sword that is a quarter size of the freaking screen. And when it finally just unleashes it out in front of you, this storm of lightning and electricity is just going freaking everywhere, and the only safe space you can really get to on the screen is to hide right underneath its feet. And then it's just shooting crazy amounts of homing lasers and pissing bullet showers all over you while it's swinging this sword all the way around the screen. And in Thunder Force, you can actually adjust how fast your ship moves, and that is the point in the game where you're at 100% speed because you cannot go slow during this fight, and you're also timed. If you don't beat it in time and it escapes, you get the bad ending, and you don't have much time to beat it. If you die and you lose your power-ups and you have to use the default weapons, it's basically not possible to get the good ending anymore. You have to get to the end with all of your power-ups and then beat that thing without dying so much that you lose all of your good weapons, or you're going to get the bad ending. It's not really easy. But I played that game so much that there was roughly 6 months period of my life, because I was playing it every single day after school on Master Mode, the hardest difficulty setting, and I was able to consistently clear it. No miss, no death, 1 credit clear on Master Mode. I was able to consistently do that. I think it is the best I have ever gotten at any one game in my life was Thunder Force 5. But why does this game have such a strong impacting memory on me? Because of what happens in the good ending. you're greeted with what's called the last letter. I might put that in the description for this video as well, because it's special, I think. It is the Guardian's last will and testament to whoever this pilot is that defeated me. It warns you. What your ship is made of is what I am made of. You may have destroyed me, but as long as your ship, the RVR-02 Vambrance, is operational, this is going to happen again. If you go back to Earth, yeah, they'll hail you as a hero, and then they're going to analyze your ship and figure out how it was able to do that, and this is all going to start all over again. I don't want that. Maybe I was wrong about humans, but one thing I was not wrong about was preserving the Earth. And it starts showing you images of sunsets, valleys and hills, rife with emerald trees and greenery. All the living creatures of the planet that it was looking out after, that it did care for. Its last hope is to try and appeal to the humanity of who the pilot is and tell them you can't go back. There's a reason the Rhynex stayed out there. There's a reason the Rhynex didn't come back. You can't either. Please make the right decision. And in the logs that you unlock after beating the game, you're able to read the last journal entry of the pilot of the RVR-02 Vambrance. And that's when you learn, without any question in your mind at that point, it was a woman. And her decision was, with the very last thing that she wrote in her journal, I hope this ship blows up real damn good. And so in the end, she chose to end her own life by launching the Vambrance into the far end of the universe where no one will ever be able to find it, and simultaneously detonating it to make sure that it'll be gone forever. It's a pretty cool game. It's got me crying. This ain't a joke. You know, look at that. I'm crying right now thinking about this. I really do love that game. It's amazing. Get that good ending. It touched me, man. I think about it all the time. Anyway, thanks for listening to me barf about spaceship games today. I really love them. I hope that came through. And peace out. God bless.